Yo guys, Vision Gen here, back with more Marvel Rivals content ahead of the upcoming Season 3.5 update, which is set to launch on August 8th, 2025. Now, in this video, I will break down an overview of all of the upcoming changes regarding buffed and nerfed heroes, the new hero Blade, and some other features too, which will impact the current meta and hopefully improve the overall experience of Marvel Rivals, especially in competitive as well as that generally. So on that note, let's get right into it. So I guess first things first, as an overview for the upcoming update, some of the heroes are set to be altered and some are being nerfed. Some are going to be buffed to try and improve the experience of the game and create new metas and different synergies with the likes of team up changes and so on. With the new hero Blade, who will be a duelist in this game, and with the new and removed team up abilities, which we'll go over at the end of the video, we should hopefully have a new and improved matchmaking experience with different heroes becoming meta, whilst existing current meta heroes will be nerfed or altered, which shouldn't hinder them too much and change the dynamic in such. But the new hero Blade, like I said, is a duelist, and Blade's addition is expected to influence these changes in team compositions, particularly in competitive, with his abilities favouring more of an aggressive playstyle and high damage output. Now, I think with Blade's arrival, especially his Cloak and Dagger synergy, that new team ability, which again I'll go over at the end, is likely to shake up the meta, favouring more of a dive and poke compositions, which is already in the season as it is. Phoenix's dominance in Season 3 so far as a meta-defining duelist with her anti-flying capabilities will likely continue, I feel, and I also hope, but Blade's abilities could definitely challenge her for her prominence, but time will have to tell there in Season 3.5. Now, flyer compositions, which were basically the more dominant in Season 2.5, due to Ultron and the newer heroes, basically I think are far less of a problem now in Season 3 and Season 3.5. It's expected to further balance this with the likes of Blade's kit and the things anti-flyer buffs that we got earlier in the season. Now, as well as this, as I also wanted to go over quickly before we get into the buffs and nerfs, we also have a new competitive mode which has been confirmed for Season 3.5, which is expected to enhance rank play, the overall experience, potentially with new mechanics or rewards to improve the team synergy and gameplay. Now, this will release on August 22nd, known as Resource Rumble, and it will first release to quick play for a week to then collect data and feedback from the community and so on, and then it will release into competitive soon after. Now, with this new mode, this will be played first on the new map as well that we're going to get in Season 3.5, known as Throne of Null, and more details will be available in due course, so stay tuned for this map and the actual details of itself. Now, as well as this, we also have, and finally, before I get into the heroes, buffs, and nerfs, just on the ranked changes, unlike Season 3, which introduced a ranked reset, demoting players by 7 divisions, for example, Diamond 1 players went down to Gold 2, and so on. Season 3.5 will not feature a ranked reset at all. Basically, resets are now only going to occur at the start of full seasons, and bans for hero selections are now active in Gold and Platinum ranks as well, allowing players to block that sort of problematic hero or playstyle earlier than in the seasons previously before. And there's also going to be a behavior ban as well on players who leave basically early in games, and also a points compensation as well for teammates who basically you're used to suffer as a consequence of that teammate leaving and therefore going to lose less points going forward, which is a great feature, I think. And finally, not too late in the day, but definitely should have come sooner in my opinion, because this has happened to me several times in the past and really did frustrate me. But for the most part, it's nice to see some improvements and overall just taking in all on board some feedback from the community in general. Now, onto the heroes, buffs, nerfs, and team abilities. First up is the hero buffs. Kicking it off with Doctor Strange, one of the best primary damage blockers and sort of vanguards in the game. He has had an increase in his Daggers of the Knack, the primary ability, from 8 damage to 10 damage per one, which is pretty cool. A nice little increase for him at 20% overall, which is really effective in the grand scheme of things, and I think he's going to become one of the best vanguards in the game for sure. And also, they've reduced the Cloak of Levitation cooldown ability from 15 seconds to now 12 seconds, which is going to allow him to escape this sort of dive meta as we're going towards a lot easier, with the likes of it being more oftenly used and more commonly being available for himself, but also being able to use the challenge flyers as well if they do come back into sort of meta. So I think this is going to make Strange one of the best tanks in the game once again. As well as this, we have Groot getting buffs this season. He is going to get the Vine Strike range increase from 20 meters to now 22 on the primary attack. As well as this, the Flora Colossus effect range radius basically has been increased from 20 to now 24 meters, which basically means the radius of which Groot needs to be to his walls in order for those walls to then strike enemies. So if you guys weren't aware, if sort of Groot does damage within 20, now 24 meters of his own walls that he places down, those walls will effectively damage those enemies that you of course have hurt with using your primary attack or your L2, the cannon, sort of the tree ball, the root ball, or anything like that. They are now going to be able to have a 4-meter increase, which is really good. I think with the sort of dynamic change with the likes of the teammates I'll go over at the end with Mantis and so on, I think Groot is going to become the number 1 vanguard in the game again, but time will tell of course. But I do think him and Strange are going to massively benefit from these updates. And then moving on as well, we also have Thor finally having a bit more of a tweak, hopefully to try and make him more of a meta defining sort of vanguard as he was right back at the start of the game. He has had sort of his ups and downs, and they have tried tweaking him over and over again, which fair play. I do recommend that they sort of keep going at this pace and trying to find the right balance, because for the most part he isn't quite there yet, but we have definitely seen an improvement with his changes. Now he's going to gain 1 fixed Thor force upon exiting the awakened rune state, which is better for his kit management and aggression. So basically he's going to get an extra hammer there available so that he can go into sort of awakened state far often or more commonly, so that is really good. And then also the lightning realm, that little bubble that he can place down, now has a new effect to it, which basically restricts aerial abilities from being used for 2 seconds for any enemy that goes through it, grounding them and slowing them as well, which is a meta-defining potentially ability that I think is going to be really effective in this current season, especially again, as I said, with that dive composition being a problem and likely to be the most sort of dominant meta in this current season. Now, as well as this, we've also had the unfortunate Iron Fist buffs, which I cannot believe we're seeing this. This is the one I really do not understand. I absolutely despise this character. I think he is far too overpowered as it is, especially when in the right hands. He's one of those high ceiling characters at low elo. So potentially you don't really see the dominance of this character, but at high elo, of course you can counter him. I'm not saying if you're playing him at high elo with high elo teammates, but I think when you see a player use this character against low elo players, but he is clearly a skilled Iron Fist, this is where he is a problem. And in quick play, something that I play quite a lot, and I think a lot of players, it depends on your perspective on how you're playing the game, but in quick play, if you come across a really good Iron Fist, he is a real problem, and with these buffs, he is going to continue to be a problem by increasing his 5th strike damage from 50 to now 55. As well as this, they've increased the damage output against the percentage of health of enemy targets from 2.1% to now 2.7%. As well as this, his harmony recovery bonus health, that decay's sort of start time has also been adjusted from 1 second to now 2 seconds, and his kick damage has been increased from 30 to 35. I appreciate there's a couple of things I just went over, so you might have to go back and hear that again. But effectively, he's had lots of different buffs. He's lost the damage buff, of course, from losing the team up anchor bonus that he had with Luna, which again, I will go over at the end to keep reminding you guys. But I do fear he is going to be broken, so we'll have to see how he plays out. And as well as this, we've also had a buff to Star-Lord. When using the Stellar Swift ability, he is now going to get an extra 25 bonus health, which lasts for 3 seconds, and then also adds extra sustain to the character, and a damage buff as well from the new team up. Again, I'll go over at the end, but this is a really cool ability, I think, to sort of just boosting his survivability and his sustain just that bit more to allow him to actually perform his combos and execute enemies far often and more consistently, because I think for the most part, sort of in the latter part of Season 2, and sort of the start of this season, he hasn't been that good, whereas the start of Season 2, he was like a meta-defining hero, especially with that res comp with Adam Warlock and Mantis. And then, of course, we've also had the infamous Spider-Man being buffed yet again. I do think this might be needed because his combo does not seem to be as problematic as before. His ultimate ability damage has increased from 150 to now 170 per second, as well as reducing the backflip distance from 12 meters to now 7 meters, meaning it'll be easier for him to connect and create combos and stuff like that. So I do think he's going to become more of a problem, which I absolutely despise, but it is Spider-Man after all, one of the most favorite, or sort of probably is the most favorite and most used character in the entire game for the most part. And then finally, we've also had the strategist being tweaked. We've had Adam Warlock reworked. The triple res comp that was previously a team ability that he had with Mantis and Star-Lord has now gone, which means he is now going to have a new purpose or identity in the game, because before, let's be honest, that is literally all people sort of played him for the most part, especially in a triple support setup. He has hopefully had a rework and is going to be more invaluable and also a better healer, reducing the ultimate cost ability from 5,000, which I think was the most expensive ultimate in the game, to now 4,700. And as well as this, the ultimate ability now provides a revived teammate's health bonus equal to 70% of their max health, which lasts for 5 seconds before dropping, whereas before, teammates just spawn back in with only 30% of their total health, giving you and your teammates more of a chance now with this ultimate ability, making it more valuable in my opinion. And then there's even more, which is really good. Like I said, a big adaptation and rework for this character. His Cosmic Cluster has now a new effect, which can basically, for each enemy hit, reduces the avatar lifestream charge by 0.3 seconds on his heals, which means more healing and incentivizing you to hit enemies more often and to build on your heals and maximize his potential. So again, a big rework, and hopefully he becomes a meta-defining sort of strategist in the game, because for the most part, he has been pretty pointless. He's all really good at a high level, but in low elo, he is pretty much useless, and there's no real point using this character, as there are better options. And then as well as this, the final buff, we have had Mantis, a new team ability as a new anchor, which again, I'll go over at the end, gives her a 10% increase in her healing, but then she does take a slight nerf to her base healing, reducing the Healing Flowers healing over time effect from 12.5 per second to now 10 per second, and her primary charges of the Life Energy Blast has been reduced from 20 to now 15, so dealing less damage. And then finally, back to the buffs of the character, she has had her ultimate ability, so the excess healing bonus health conversion rate increase from 0.7 to now 1, providing better sort of value from that ultimate, which is really good, because I think for the most part it's probably the weakest out of the healing ultimates in the game. And then so a few changes there, but for the most part with Mantis' new team up, again, I'll go over at the end, these changes, I think she'll become a more meta healer, especially when used alongside Groot, who's going to probably be the #1 Vanguard in the game. Now, onto the nerfs, not that many to go through, but finally, Magneto has seen his day. He has had the smallest of sort of tweaks or nerfs to the character by having his bubbles being nerfed. The iron and metal bulwarks, those little sort of wards or bubbles you can place onto teammates and yourselves, are being reduced in shield value from 300 to now 250, which is not a great deal whatsoever, but a slight nerf, and it's good to see that this character is being tweaked. I have Magneto Lord. I've used him a lot, probably like 27 hours plus, which is ridiculous. So I've had my time in the day with using this character, but I do think he has just been so consistently reliable and probably one of the best, if not the best Vanguard for the entire game since literally his launch. So I do think it is about time that he gets a bit of a tweak to try and shift the meta and who is the best Vanguards and so on. Black Panther has also had the increase of the Spirit Ren cooldown from 8 seconds to 10 seconds, slowing down the ability and basically the dash usage. So if you do get caught out with sort of mistiming or mishitting your combos, you are going to more likely be exposed as a Black Panther player. I absolutely love this. I cannot stand the character. He is literally in my top 3, if not the number 1 most despised characters in the game. I cannot stand that is the entire playstyle in itself. I understand it in terms of why it's fun and satisfying. I absolutely cannot wait to try him out for myself when I'm grinding out the Lord characters, but for the most part, I do not enjoy playing against him. He makes life miserable for supports, and for the most part, he just makes it so much more unenjoyable in quick play experiences. So I do think a slight nerf is needed in my opinion. Now, Wolverine has had more of a nerf, which I think is a good thing in the grand scheme of things because the character is broken and just literally insta-banned all the time. So hopefully with these nerfs, he might be more viable because he'll actually not get banned and other heroes might instead. Now, Wolverine has had his ultimate increase from 2,800 energy, which was already ridiculously cheap and low. So they've increased that to now 3,400, and the life steal from the team ability with Phoenix no longer contributes towards his ultimate ability, which means he'll actually get the ultimate slower and also get it less often because it's actually going to be harder to get, and also of course the increase in cost. So I do think he was very broken at the start of season 3, and the nerfs are viable and definitely needed for the most part. And like I said, with these nerfs, maybe other characters will be banned instead, especially in competitive. So hopefully that will improve it, because I actually want to play this character in competitive, guys. But for the most part, maybe 1 in 10 games you'll get that chance, if that. It's pretty ridiculous how often this character is banned. And then the final nerf is Cloak and Dagger's ultimate ability, increasing the energy from 4,000 to now 4,300, which I think is absolutely necessary. I think the character is really good. I don't think it's overpowered by any means, but I think the ultimate was just always available by literally in every single team fight. So a slight increase should hopefully allow other teams to better use their ultimate abilities and time them in better situations to get more value out of those team fight situations, and not just always have to deal with the support ult at any time, meaning Magneto is actually less sort of needed in certain team fights, especially as like we don't want to be using him, as I said, because we want to move away from having Magneto in every single game, because that's literally how it's been since the start of the game, especially at the high levels in competitive. Now, on to the team abilities. There has been a few changes, removed team ups as well as new team abilities. So Luna and Adam Warlock is the new team ability, the new synergy in the game, known as Duality Dance, where basically Warlock will be the anchor, having that extra healing bonus, and Luna Snow can now borrow Adam Warlock's cosmic power to attach herself to nearby allies, turning damage against them into healing for herself, which is pretty crazy. And again, more love to Luna every single season. Seems to be the common trend that NetEase games seem to go in. It just never seems to be a nerf to Luna. She still remains, I think, the best strategist in the entire game, and I think with this new dynamic and team comp change, I think we'll continue to see that. Groot has also had a new ability, Mantis as the anchor. As I said earlier in the video, Mantis has had a new team ability as the anchor, being Groot will now gain a healing wall, so now has 4 walls instead of 3, and Loki will be a part of this as well, providing a damage buff for Loki within the clones in itself, and healing pulse, which is a really cool feature for those clones, definitely making it more powerful. And I think Loki again probably should get tweaked later on. I think this is going to make him an absolute must-use hero in this game, considering the fact that Mantis is now going to be an anchor, Groot is probably going to be the best Vanguard, or if not top 3, which means he's going to be used, which therefore means Loki is going to be used alongside her. So we'll have to see how that works, but hopefully we'll see Adam Warlock being used more often, especially with Luna in this new team ability. And then as well as this, because Loki is in this new one with Groot and Mantis, he is actually being removed from the Ragnarok Rebirth team ability with Hela and Thor, which is a big hit, as Hela is basically one of the most commonly used main duelists in the entire game right now, which I don't really think is going to be a problem at low elo anyways, because for the most part players don't really utilize this team ability, and some don't even realize it exists. But when Hela lands a final hit already, basically Loki and Thor, which no longer of course Loki is going to be part of, will basically respawn in the death phase if they die, or if they are alive they'll get a bonus health, which is a really cool team ability if you have a good Hela on your team. But at the higher elo, this is definitely a meta defining one, so this being removed should hopefully change it up and make it a bit more interesting. And as well as this, Luna is also of course losing the Iron Fist team ability, which, let's be honest, most people don't even use or even know about, but instead Iron Fist is going to be joining the Chilling Assault team ability with Luna as the anchor, and shared with Hawkeye, which gives Hawkeye that ice arrow of course, and Iron Fist now gets a healing AoE passive, where basically in that meditation ability he will basically heal allies in a certain area, which is really cool. And I think that should definitely be utilized for the most part, especially as he's going to probably be one of the best duelists yet again, unfortunately for me, but for some I imagine this is going to be a really exciting new addition. And we've also had the Human Torch and the Thing new team ability for the Fantastic Four, which was introduced on July 25th when the film came out, inspired by the actual film First Steps, with the movie trailer basically shows it off, and it's really cool. And this just sort of enhances their individual synergy between the two, and I think could definitely continue to play a role in season 3.5 and the meta strategies. And then basically we've also had of course the new Blade hero sharing the Lunar Force and being a part of the Cloak and Dagger Moon Knight team ability, which I think isn't going to be that big in the grand scheme of things, but giving him that self-heal and that camouflage just for a brief second should hopefully help, and also make Cloak and Dagger that more viable when players are playing Blade all the way throughout the season, because let's be honest, everyone is going to want to play Blade, so I think that makes Cloak and Dagger more likely to be used in this current season. So it's a great dub. And then in summary, I think following the latest season 3.5 update, the game should feel very different with these new sort of buffs and nerfs and team up changes, and of course the new hero blade, which should definitely be refreshing, and I'm definitely super excited to play it, and I just cannot wait to grind out some content and see how this new season feels and it plays out with the new changes, the new buffs, nerfs, hero changes, team dynamics, removal of certain abilities, and so on. I just cannot wait to see how it plays out and hopefully makes it more of an enjoyable experience, especially playing the likes of Adam Warlock, Groot, Mantis, and of course the new hero blade. So let's just see how it plays out in the new season. And as always, guys, if you guys have enjoyed the video, do not forget to like and subscribe, as it massively helps me out. And if you have any comments or thoughts about season 3 so far as a whole, or with regards to the upcoming update, please let me know down below in the comments and I'll get right back to you, as I'm interested to hear your thoughts. I'm VisionSGen. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.